morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at the monkeys. Now, it's weird, right? Because I don't know how much I like the monkeys. On the one hand, I don't really like the monkeys. On the other hand, the 1 year I actually went to Worlds and got to play and grind it in and have great memories, the monkeys were very much the motif, as it were, of Worlds that year. And they were all over the Tropical Beach promos, etc. I got. So, don't want to like the monkeys. Kind of feel like I have to like the monkeys. What is weird is that they used to be printed like every 5 minutes. And yet, we haven't actually had any of the monkeys released since Burning Shadows, so they've been out of the format for a little while. Now, there are 3 of them, and although I would usually take 3 Pokemon and put them in different videos, the fact of the matter is they are all identical cards other than the typing and the attack cost of the first attack, so Simpour, Simisear and Simisage will all be dealt with in the same video here, so let's get rolling, shall we? Also, shout out to the lovely Antoine Boulet. And I tell you what, for a guy that never really likes the monkey cards, I kind of like the monkey cards here. Now, what we see on them is that we've got 100 HP, which for a stage 1 is largely uninspiring. Especially bearing in mind we've got a whole bunch of basics like Zapdos that happily sit and run around with more than that, so no, I'm not terribly impressed. The retreat cost of 1 on each of them is quite nice because of the whole U-turn board. And then really when we're looking at the typings, some of them are better than others. I mean, if we look at Simisear, we got a fire Pokemon, so that means you can use Welder, and it means you're hitting weakness against Zacian V, which is very, very cool. As well as being able to use cards like Fire Crystal to get your fire energy back and all of that malarkey. We could have a look at Simpour here, which comes in as a water Pokemon, but then again you can accelerate energy with Frostmoth there. So that's kind of cool. And you're hitting weakness against all of these Welder decks and Welder Box and Reshiram and Charizard and all still running around, still very popular decks. They do tend to be more box decks at the moment, so many different attackers, sometimes not even Reshiram and Charizard, but they're still popular decks that see a fair amount of play. And then Simisage here, unfortunately, kind of gets the raw end of the deal, because you're not hitting anything terribly relevant for weakness, not unless Stonejourner V Max suddenly becomes super popular. And you don't really have great support, except I suppose it can be searched out with Turffield Stadium, so I suppose there is that. That's quite nice. But I'll be honest with you, it's the one I like the least. Now, here's what's cool about this. What we basically got is 3 Pokemon that can be very, very easily teched into any deck you like. We'll get into the attacks in a moment, but you can just see looking at them. The first attack on all of these is for 1 coloured energy. Fire for Simisear, Water for Simpour, and Grass for Simisage. Which means for a brief period of time pre-rotation, you're going to have rainbow energy, which is nice. And then for a bit of time post-rotation, you're going to have Aurora energy, which incidentally will not just survive this rotation, but will also survive the next rotation, which is pretty awesome. And that's very easy to pay. But then for the second attack, free colourless energy, I mean look, you can either use triple acceleration energy, it will pay the attack cost in one go, it'll fall off at the end of the turn, but they're evolved Pokemon you can. You can use twin energy here, though admittedly twin energy will not pay it, you'll still need a third. But all of these have got decent energy acceleration. I've already mentioned Welder for Simisear, I've already mentioned Frostmoth for Simpour, and for Simisage I probably should have mentioned Rillaboom. So all of these can actually get the energy on them fairly easily. And what it does is it gives you an attacker in basically any deck to go and cover your weakness. So let's go one by one here. Let's start with Simisear. And look, the 30 damage is not going to be particularly amazing, alright? 30 damage, what you're hoping for is that you're hitting for weakness against something with 60 HP or less. So maybe in a Rillaboom deck, your opponent is playing a 60 HP Grookey. And to be fair, there are 60 HP Grookeys out there, although having said that, there are also 70 HP Grookeys, so Yeah, but if you come against a 60 HP Grookey, in your face 60 HP Grookey. But if we then look at the second attack here, the second attack does 110 damage for free energy, and you can't attack next turn, but these are techs, right? These are not Pokemon that sit in the active turn after turn after turn smashing. These are Pokemon that are brought in to hit for weakness. And that's it, right? They are weakness hitting Pokemon. If you're not hitting for weakness, now to be fair, there are a bunch of non-GX, non-V Pokemon. Things like Zapdos or maybe even Jirachi. Yeah, please don't think it's escaped my notice that Jirachi has 70 HP and a weakness to fire, and that Simisage is 10 damage short with the weakness of getting a KO. That has not escaped my attention, and it makes me extremely sad. Boo, hiss, etc. But with the second attack here, you will be getting the odd non-V, non-GX Pokemon. You'll be fine. But if you're hitting for weakness, it starts looking pretty good. I mean, this is the exact amount of damage needed to get a one-hit KO on Zacian V. Look how that worked out. And yes, I know they've got Metal Frying Pan, but you've got Tool Scrapper. The one thing that will scupper you here, if they use Lucario and Melmetal's GX attack to take 30 less damage from attacks, that will unfortunately stop you, because at that point even a Vitality Band will still leave you 10 damage short of the KO, and that is a little bit sad, but you're hitting weakness on Zacian and getting a one-hit KO. And of course you're also hitting weakness on Grass. Even when all these weaknesses and resistances get thrown around and changed and all of that, we still end up with Fire hitting two entire types for weakness with Grass and Metal, which is kind of a little bit ridiculous. So we like this one very, very much indeed. Plus, of course, it fits into Fire decks, it's a welder and an energy. What makes me super sad about all of these, as a little side note here, we're losing Ditto to the rotation. Imagine being able to put Ditto and Triple Acceleration Energy in your deck, and then being able to grab any of these three at any time and start hitting for weakness for 3 different types. That would be amazing! You can't, but oh my goodness, that would be awesome. Moving on to Simpour, this is the other one I really quite like, because you have the option here of hitting for 110 damage against fire Pokemon. And here it really depends what you're up against. If you find yourself staring down a Victini V, you're good. It's going down in one hit. If you find yourself against a Ninetales V, you're good. They're going down in one hit. If, however, you find yourself against, say, a Reshiram and Charizard, even when you add in, say, a Vitality Band, you're still 30 damage short here. And this makes me a little bit sad. Against Pokemon Vs and Pokemon GXs, you should be in a pretty good position here with these Pokemon. But against Tag Teams and VMAXs, you are really not. And then finishing off, having a little bit of a look at Simisage, it's a grass Pokemon. And essentially all the analysis, all the discussion on the previous monkeys holds here. It's still a really nice, easy to pay attack, either with Triple Acceleration Energy or with Rillaboom. It still hits weakness. It will still basically get a one-hit KO on anything that's weak that isn't a tag team or a VMAX. But that's about it. I mean, Stonejourner VMAX is 330 HP, so you're miles away from getting that. But then again, if we have a look at Stonejourner V before the whole VMAXing thing happens, it's sitting there at 220 and you're exactly getting a KO. And that's essentially where these monkeys fit. I love that they are stage 1s. I love that they are colourless energy. I love that they're quite easy to pay. Any of these 3 could be played in a Welder deck, or a Frostmoth deck, or a Rillaboom deck, or pre-rotation a Malamar deck, or failing all of that, they could just be played with Triple Acceleration Energy. I worry that you're not hitting VMAXs, and I worry that you're not hitting tag teams, but then again, they're free prize Pokemon, and is it not maybe a little bit greedy that we're trying to hit free prize Pokemon with one prize Pokemon? These are great, great techs, and they are exactly the kind of cards I love having in the format, because all of a sudden, oh, I'm really, really worried about Zacian. My deck has no answer to Zacian whatsoever, and Simisear's like, hey dude, what up? And then you're like, oh man, I keep losing to this Firebox deck and I can't beat them and they're all Pokemon Vs, and because they're not playing many V Maxes or tag teams at the moment at all. Oh look, now Simpour's coming in and he's got my back. And you never know, Simisage might be useful at some point. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, these are very, very cool. Yes, they're basically the same card with 3 different typings, but I kind of like that from a teching standpoint. They are cool. I'm going to go ahead and give them between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. I do not think anyone is going to make a Monkeys deck. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. What I will say is, I am absolutely convinced that we are going to see people popping these into decks as an answer for specific Pokemon that you're hitting for weakness, and that alone makes me incredibly happy. But I'd like to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts, be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, or you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.